Like every week in the AFL, teams, players, and coaches win and lose a little bit more than some others. So let's go through it all. The biggest winners and losers out of round 7, 2024. Let's kick things off with Trent Rivers, who was outstanding for Melbourne all the way back on Wednesday night. What he and fellow halfback flanker Judd McVie both have in common, and which is so amazing for any halfback flanker in this league, is how fans, and footy neutrals alike, or even opposition fans in an angry way, feel a sense of calm when the ball is in their hands. And with Trent Rivers, this is no different. Every single time he has a little bit of time, a little bit of space, and the ball in hand, you just know that good things are going to happen. And like I said, when it's against your team, and he was very good against the Hawks as well, it is really annoying. And annoying opposition fans is how you know you're usually doing something right. I did consider putting him in the lose section as well, and you might think that's a little bit strange, but frankly, sometimes you need to get knocked off your high horse a little bit, and Trent Rivers is way too good looking to be this good at football. Is that jealousy? It's jealousy. He looks like that with those stats. Piss off, Trent. Let's stick with the Ds. How could you not talk about Daniel Turner? It was awesome. Played as a defender for the majority of his career and even throughout his underage stuff before he got to the AFL as well. Kicked 3 goals, 1, had another 2 score involvements off his boot. Was pretty good with ball in hand, as you can see on the screen there as well. And this was just one of those feel-good stories. Now, I think Melbourne are still not quite there in terms of contendership, if you will. Is that even a word? Who cares? But yes, the forward line being figured out is one of those things, and if Turner can contribute to that, that is awesome. But I'm just not 100% there on the Ds. From a week-to-week basis, though, more than happy to be on Team Melbourne as they continue to play like this, for crying out loud. It was an extraordinary performance, even though the game itself was utter dog shit. Winning ugly, I've got no problems, but a story like this and a story like Daniel turning it around, coming from nowhere and starring on the MCG, what's not to love? Well done, young man. Our first loss for the weekend, and it's going to go to those in the media that keep spreading this extra time bullshit. Now, I know there is going to be some people here, before you comment away bagging me, which, go for it, sure, why not? It's not that I hate your opinion. It's not even that I disrespect your opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. I am anti-extra time in the home and away. I did a TikTok and a YouTube short about this. The majority of you feel the same way. Got no problem with that at all. But what really annoys me is when mainstream media go, well, fans are asking for this. And I heard it a little bit on the weekend, fans, do you want extra time? I'm hearing that fans want this. Who are you hearing it from? Now, I'm not saying that my audience has the overriding opinion. I'm not saying that in the slightest, although I do have the best fans on YouTube, so there is something to be said about the weight that the beautiful people that follow Daz Talks Footy can carry, but both teams were spent. They had 120 minutes to get it done. The argument to be made that Collingwood shouldn't have conceded the first 4 goals or 5 of the first 6. There's an argument to be made that Essendon shouldn't have let them back. Look at the stats on the screen. How did Essendon lose a game where they had this kind of statistical dominance when you look at the way that Collingwood were able to fight back and outscore the Bombers by nearly 5 goals in the last 3 quarters? How do you not get over the line there? At the end of the day, neither of them could, therefore shake hands, 2 points, walk away. What really annoys me about this as well is the people that go, yeah, but it's a non-result. No, it isn't, because you get 2 points. That's a result. The 2 points on the ladder is a result. But as far as it stands, if you tell me a draw is worth 2 points, do not play extra time at all. Doesn't need to happen in the slightest. And even if they said future draws, you don't get premiership points, I'm probably going to be anti-extra time until that draw happens. But let's be honest, I think there's only been 10 in the last 6.5 seasons. It's not as if this happens a lot. So, media, here is the loss for you. Stop telling us that fans want this when the clear majority don't want it. And look, if we are going to pick a winner from this game, it could be Myercheck, it could be Langford. I know they had some nightmare moments in the last quarter. It could be Zach Merritt for his Anzac Day medal performance. I thought Andy McGrath was amazing. Pendles was great, although he did get caught holding the ball late. But surely the big winner out of Anzac Day, apart from the crowd, I don't want to say theatrics, but the ceremony around Anzac Day, that is a way better word to use, the theatrics of the Anzac Day pre-game stuff. The real and biggest winner of Anzac Day is that. Like, come on. Just throw him the car keys while he's up there. Seriously, he's won the car. I know they don't win a car anymore, but I'm always going to think they do. Sue me. Let's go back to the winners list. A guy that I was obsessed with in his draft year. I'm not saying I discovered him or anything like that, but my God, Finn Callahan was good on the weekend. As were all of the Giants. They came out after halftime, punched Brisbane in the face, and Brisbane, as some teams can do, but mentally where they are at the moment is once they get punched, they go down. The whole thing of targeting Andrews and Neil, I can understand where that comes from, but at the end of the day, they've got enough guys who play well when Brisbane are going well and play shit when Brisbane are going shit. Is that downhill skiing? Is that momentous? Whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really bother me, but Brisbane are nowhere. They're going to win games. Brisbane will. They might even make finals, which is extraordinary to me. They're not a contender, nowhere near it. They could get on a roll. They could be a team that wins like 7 in a row at some point this year. They really could. But they're nowhere at the moment. And hard to see them turning it around over the course of the next, 5 or so months. Back to Finn Callahan, though. The left foot, the meters gained were extraordinary. His multiple efforts and multiple runs, whether they were rewarded or not, was awesome. And I thought the way he was able to get back into defense as well means that he wasn't just waiting for a dump kick out and then to recover. He was willing to go back, help that back 6, turn it into a back 7, back 8 situation, along with debutant Darcy Jones. And how bloody good was he, by the way? Nearly made the winners list as well. Finn was awesome. He's not the finished product. I apologise for no pun, except maybe that one that was terrible, but extraordinary. 20 years of age, putting those numbers up. Make it consistent, and my goodness. So I know I touched on Brisbane a little bit. I am still putting them in the loser section and insert pretty much everything that I said before. The fact that they had 88 less disposals and less tackles is just all you need to know about how hard blokes want to work. I know Hugh McCluggage is going to be a story here because 1.3 million is apparently what management are asking for. Whether that's true or not, that's what's out there. I don't know. I can't disprove it just yet. So going off what we're getting told, which mentioned earlier in the video might not be as trustworthy as we think it is, but he doesn't play like a $1.3 million player. He just doesn't. Now, I understand that's what it takes to pry someone out of a football club. You need to pay anywhere between 20 and 40% more than what they're worth. So I get that, but when the going gets tough, still needs Neil and Dunkley to get it done, seemingly. But yeah, Brisbane, they're kind of in the shit at the moment. I don't know how much of it is on Fagan, but some of it has to be. But he's also dealing with a cattle that, for some reason, again, whether it's him mentally, I don't know what it is, that is seemingly okay with being just short and can't, psychologically break down that barrier into becoming great. And that's a huge concern. Back to the winners. Now, I don't want to say I'm falling in love because it sounds weird, especially when I bring up a footballer, but Jace Burgoyne is going to be something. Now, what I love about him is you can see some of his dad, but he's not his dad. But he was clean. He recovered from fumbles. He was a little bit fumbly, but recovered from his fumbles, used the ball relatively well. But what I liked is he didn't look stuck on defensive transition as well. He put his body on the line a few times. Everything he touched seemingly turned to gold, I should say. But on a day where it was cleanliness and accurate goal kicking, he and Charlie Dixon really were the standouts. I've one that's been potting Charles a little bit, so 4 straight. Beautiful, awesome. Wanted to give Jace the credit, but Charlie gets some as well, and Port escaped, really, which is a weird thing to say considering that I thought, smacked the Saints, not on the scoreboard for the majority of that game, but inaccurate goal kicking kept it close, which can happen. Yeah, the Saints are bad, guys. I don't know why I put faith in them. This one's not my fault. The Adelaide, that's my fault for how they go. St Kilda, that's 100% David King's fault, and I'm okay with that in that regard. But they were beaten on the inside-outside territory game. Accurate goal kicking kept them in this, but they weren't in this, if that makes sense. Like, if I just showed you the game and hid the scoreboard, there is no way you would have said the Saints lost by 10 points. So it's not a major damage to their percentage, but 2-5 right now. I know the fixture's been harsh. I know Ross has been saying all these things. They're not out of the finals race or anything like that, but right now they look like they need a bye. They just didn't play in opening round, and they're still like 7 weeks away from their bye. So if they go another 2-5 and end up at the bye 4-10, well, they're no chance. When you've got a game like Adelaide and North, in which case Adelaide did fill their boots a little bit, I wanted to give a win to someone who maybe filled up that you mightn't have expected. So I've gone with Lachie Scholl here, Lockie's a guy who I've kind of looked at and gone, he is more than happy to jump on when things are going okay, but can go missing if some of his teammates are as well. But what I really liked about his game is that he was really good early, before the scoreboard pressure got so inflated that it was Adelaide were just coasting. He was still doing the tough stuff, which was really good. It wasn't that he jumped on the bandwagon of his teammates in order to get himself going. I liked what he did in a massive way. Gotta be honest, didn't watch this game in its entirety live, so did have to do some circumspect research on this one, because number one, I wasn't home at the time, and number two, it was Adelaide versus North. It's probably a shit thing to say, but it is what it is. But everything that I've seen of this game, he looked awesome. Got to watch him closely throughout watching the replay, and I thought he was fantastic. Picked on, if you want to say, North's coaches. I've picked on Clarko a little bit, but I want to talk about a guy that they picked up in the off-season that isn't delivering, and that's Dylan Stephens, a guy that I was a pretty big fan of at the Swans. And if you're wondering what BA means in his stats there, that means below average compared to other people in his position, or other players. Or I should say, he's below average in all of those categories. So he hasn't really gone to another level. And when you think of someone like a Jordan Dawson, who could have gone to another club and then gone, I'm only going to be as good as my teammates. That didn't happen. He's gone to another level at the Crows, as we know, although his start to this year hasn't been great. If you ever said that Jordan Dawson at Adelaide hasn't worked out so far, you're crazy. Whereas it currently looks like Dylan was only as good as his teammates were playing, which is a real shame for North. Fingers crossed he can pick it up. Might be not that great that I'm only highlighting one player when North Melbourne have got about 34,000 problems at this point in time. But when you go get another player to your club, you want them to perform. They've been infamously, at this point, mocked for some trades, the Polek, the Pittard trades, and, you know, their off-move stuff they've done since Ferrito, Harvey, Dalsano, and Petrie were let go. You know, is Dylan Stephens part of that? I hope not. It hasn't been the greatest start, though, unfortunately. Considering Geelong haven't had anyone have 30 disposals in a game this year, and I'm pretty sure everyone's nearly sick and tired of talking about how good Jeremy Cameron is, I'm just going to give the win here to Chris Scott. They've beaten these teams. The umpiring was not great, and I'll talk about them in just a second, but at the end of the day, they still put 118 on the board against a Carlton defence that has been really good, without Tom Hawkins doing anything significant. Like, that's a win. Chris Scott's a genius, and I was fully happy to be like, finally Geelong are bad. The Hawks are bad, but the Cats are going to be bad. They're still going to be better than us, but they're going to be bad. No, if they're not your best team in it, they're the second best. Or third at worst if you want to put Sydney above them, which I think is ludicrous. But, hey, Chris Scott, Geelong, flying. Pricks. But yeah, seriously, the umpiring department, my goodness. Now, I've been angry at the umpires for putting the whistle away late in games, that if it's there, you still need to pay it. I know that takes an element of courage. I don't know if they're trained to not pay stuff late in games, no idea. But surely common sense can kick in. That Mackay Cripps 50-metre penalty was just fucking egregious in this game. The deliberate non-decision as well was pretty bad, but late in games, the pressure goes up, and if we have umpires that aren't up to it, we need to be asking and investigating why. Not fans, the people that are running this sport. Now, I'm not one that says a high free kick disparity means the umpiring's been bad. I can be a little bit superficial with that if I've had a few when I'm on Twitter. as most people on Twitter can be. But overall, I'm not someone that goes, the free kick count will say 21-9, therefore this team was favoured. It is all about context in the moment. And Carlton fans, I hope you're not looking at this game as we were awesome, but we got screwed over. There were definitely points in the game where you were exposed a little bit, but again, you kicked 105 against a really good Geelong defence. I don't blame you, but people running the AFL, fix your fucking umpiring department, because it is the one thing that is dragging down this freaking sport. I know Isaac Heaney's probably winning the Brownlow at this point, and Zach Merritt is getting some love, especially from JZ Clark on the Sunday Rub this week. But Caleb Serong is going to be a guy that is going to be up there in the Brownlow medal count, especially when Freo are winning games. 4-3 at the moment, and who would have thought they're 3-0 when they kick over 70 points? You win games by scoring. Well, bugger me. Why didn't anyone tell me this? But Serong's not getting the win. It's Nat Fyfe is getting the win. It wasn't the fact that Serong is boring in the sense of good players playing so well, and I'll quickly explain what I mean. Sometimes when players get to a level, when they're A+, we kind of just go, yeah, that's what we expect from them. Caleb Serong's kind of in that bracket at the moment. That's not why I've ignored him, but it's seemingly like he had 17 clearances on the weekend, and like, it doesn't feel like anyone gave a shit, which is extraordinary. Now, when Matt Rowell had the 20 clearances, everyone cared because he got injured early on in his career. He came into this year going, what really is he? What's the ceiling? But because Caleb Serong was so good last year, he had this performance, and, media, even footy fans, non-Freo fans just kind of went, well, yeah, that's what Caleb Serong does. Like, that's crazy to me. But the veteran, Nat Fyfe, he was back to being what the best version of him now could be. It's not career best Nat, nothing like that, but in terms of what you could ask for Nat Fyfe to do, this was the perfect performance, just about. The contested ball, the throwing himself around was awesome. He was good in that last quarter, as a lot of his teammates were, but my goodness gracious me, if Freo can get 75% of this on a consistent basis, maybe 3 out of every 5 games, Freo probably make finals. But the message is simple. Score first, defend second, because you know how to defend. That's always going to be there. That's not going to go away. Score, score, score. Win from clearance, win the stoppage, take the territory, get your stoppages forward of centre, and hit the scoreboard. And they did it beautifully on the weekend. Going to give a win to Gold Coast's Academy, and I know it's fun to bitch about the fact that they've got their academy and they've got access to these kids. We can't do anything about that, but they're producing some real talent. Will Graham on the weekend was awesome. Jake Rogers had a full game and just looked real smooth by foot. They've had a ton of other players roll through there. I even think Bailey Scott was part of their academy and picked North Melbourne. How's that kind of looking for you, Bailey? Now that's iffy. Let's go with that. I think Jack Bowes was a part of the academy as well before getting traded to Geelong, so it's worked out fruitfully for them at the moment. I know not every player on this list played, and that's of course not everyone that is in Gold Coast side, but the footy factory is working, Dimmer is humming, and they've done what you should do, which is make your home ground a bit of a fortress. How they go on the road against good opposition is still not there yet, so I'm not ready to crown them a great team or even a better than good team. They're a good team at the moment. So hard to play against at home, susceptible away, but that's all about the build. I'm just about thinking they're a lock for finals next year, but look what I did to the Crows, so let's not just lock that in just yet, but their academy is fantastic. They've got a brilliant coach. Their game plan works for what they've got. I still worry about the fact they've got some experienced passengers in there, but Dimmer is only 7 weeks into the role, so who am I to complain too much? Don't know how to explain it any better than the title. Oh, we're so bad. We're so bad. We have gone backwards. There's an argument to be made. So I've got Cam McKenzie and Lloyd Meek in my ticks. I've got Dylan Moore in my ticks as well, and I'm going to add Jack Scrimshaw to that list. So that's 4 players, and the list is what? 44 players deep? So 9% of our list has gotten better in 2 months of footy. That's not great at all. From drafting to players being brought into the club, it's a mess. It's not good. The Hawks could trade out of their pick 2 spots, so do they do that for an established talent? Like Bailey Smith, Luke Davies-Uniacke. I hope so, if that's at all possible. You know, do you split that pick with Gold Coast and use the 2 firsts to go get Luke Davies-Uniacke and you know, hopefully gets someone in the door? I don't know. But building a team on ball movement before defence has just not worked at all. And the Dogs next week, last time the Dogs had a big loss and Bevo was under pressure and they went to Marvel, they beat the piss out of St Kilda. So this is not going to be a fun week for Daz at all. I do have another loss to give away you guys liked when I did the movie stuff. I did watch Kung Fu Panda 4 on the weekend, and it's unnecessary is the word that I'm going with here. It's too short for a start, which makes the whole thing predictable, rushed, and doesn't really need to exist, and you know, all those things. I really like the Kung Fu Panda trilogy, not as much as How to Train Your Dragon, but Kung Fu Panda is really good. But the movie that I'm giving a loss to actually came up on Prime after I got logged out. I logged back in and it gave me the list of everything that I've watched. So I want to tell you something to avoid on Prime. It's called The Farm. And it's so bad, it's terrible. Now, bad horror can still be fun. I'm a horror fan. Bad horror, some of my favourite horror movies are terrible horror movies. There is a joy in the shitness that horror can bring you. This is just awful. The kidnapping, there's some stuff that happens that's just gross, and you know, stuff in horror can be gross, but it's like, I don't know how to explain it, unnecessarily gross. The only bit of the movie worth watching is the last 4 minutes. You know, as the escape plan comes together, if I can say that without spoiling it. From that to the end credits is pretty good. The rest of it is fucking garbage. So don't watch The Farm. It gets a loser of the weekend. Although, if you said to me, Daz, go watch The Farm or go watch Hawthorn v Sydney again. It's like asking me which testicle I want cut off. Neither if possible. I'd probably watch The Farm again. Fuck, I can't believe I've said that out loud. But they're my winners and losers from round 7. I hope you guys enjoy. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. We are less than 250 away from 3K, which is extraordinary. Got an amazing video coming for you on Wednesday where we kickstart something that I started in April last year. That's the only hint you get. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope your team went well. And if they didn't, I hope they went better than the Hawks did. So, fingers crossed you guys can smash out your week. Hope you had a fantastic Monday in your work week. If it's the start of your work week, start it beautifully. I'll see you on Wednesday night. Bye, guys.